Quick Takes with Ed Masterson.
What do you, what are the types of noise with most of the things that the systems that you work with you have to address, and all, background, signal, and environmental kind of the things that some people mention. So.
Yeah. So number one is someone doing the dishes behind him in the great room, So room noise. I'm going to use sort of just very generic terms to describe it to make sure trying to get what I'm trying to say across. So there's the sound, the noises within the space you're attempting to listen in.
You mean like the vacuum cleaner?
Yeah, like when you were cleaning the cooling fan on the computer, and I'm attempting to listen. It really doesn't work very well. That vacuum level is very loud. I mean, you put a vacuum in a room, and really it doesn't matter what stereo system you have at that point. Okay, so the room itself, the noise sources, refrigerators. And I say this because there's a lot of people that have great rooms, and refrigerators that have ice makers, dishwashers, just all kinds of stuff, that make noise.
Open space thing.
The big open space. And so those things can be very intrusive, in your experience. But so let's say everyone's gone to bed or they're out of town, you've placed yourself and you're listening. So now, what are the noises? Well, a big one's air conditioning. A lot of people can have problems with, the air conditioning can sometimes be loud enough that you have to turn the stereo up to hear everything, and, louder than you're necessarily comfortable with, I should say. But, in the best of circumstances, maybe you could even address that. I've done that many times. This room is actually very quiet. When you close the door, you don't really hear the air conditioning. You can if you try. You can hear the projector. In fact, I'm sure it's in the recording. The projector fan noise is it's one of the quieter projector sets out there, but it's still substantial. I mean, if you're sitting in this room with the door closed and you turn it off, it is a dramatic change. I mean, when you go from that to dead quiet, it's like, oh, that's much better. So, those devices that make noise, even in stereo systems, cable boxes of hard drives, those things sit there and spin, they make noise. Some products have fans. I've had amplifiers that had pretty noisy fans in them. In fact, all the commercial products do. Had people try and use, professional, like, stage amps, that kind of thing, in an audio system to drive, say, a subwoofer. But the fan noise was so loud on that piece of electronics that it couldn't be in the same room. That's another thing. A lot of times to handle that, we'll get it out of the room. So there's that. There's another factor, and that is your room, your walls, your fixtures. I made a mistake when I did my windows in the back of my room in here. They're hurricane windows, and I wanted to match the rest of the house, so it has I don't know what you call those, but the metal dividers that make it look like it's multiple windows. It sits in between the panes, and there's a particular subfrequency that makes that rattle, and I can hear that in the back of the room. More painfully, I have a customer who's got the best system I've ever done, arguably. His track lighting has a particular frequency where it just takes off and makes so much noise you can hear it over the music, even when the music's loud. So if that particular note's hitting, it's only one note, but anyway, there's opportunities within the room that come into play because the sound system makes the noise. It's causing a reaction to it, which that kind of goes back to that question about the equipment. If you've got your equipment in the room and you're vibrating all the air in the room, well, you're vibrating that piece of equipment. It's definitely seeing it. On that line, I have kind of had a theory that despite the fact most people, including myself, used to think that the packaging with the big, fat, heavy casings, milled out of a solid piece of aluminum, were really more about aesthetics, and fit and finish. But I think there's an effect there that comes into play, and that is the chassis itself is much more substantial, which I think there's some opportunity to control, vibration in that chassis with that more effectively. So maybe it's a more stable platform for the electronics. The transistors in an amplifier are bolted to the chassis. If the chassis is ringing, I had amplifiers before, very good ones, that you could go up to them, get close to them, and you could hear the heat sinks ringing in response to music. Yeah, guaranteed that's going into the transistor.
Please subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you for watching.